Eric here for DaPhat.com, and I'm going to quickly review one of the new features coming in Storm Legion called Dimensions. Now, in this video, I'm going to try to give some tips and tricks and things that will hopefully help you when creating your dimension. And I'm going to show you where the vendors are from the get-go when you come into the new zone in the game, which is called Tempest Bay. Looking at the Porticulum in Tempest Bay, the easiest, quickest way to get there is to turn around and run down the back steps, heading over to the left, and then breaking a quick right. You will come down the stairs, and directly to your right hand side will be most of your dimension vendors. Now, each vendor will have different items that you can use in your dimension, and this particular vendor, Woody Cook, will give you your first options for keys to purchase a dimension to customize. So I'm just gonna pick a dimension here. Let's go with Shorewood Islands. Alright, so I've now purchased my dimension. I'm going to right click the key. I'm going to collect it. Once you've collected it, you go to your social media button and hit dimensions, or hit the left bracket key, and then you will notice in your list the Shorewood Islands. Now you can also have multiple dimensions, so let's say we wanted to buy a second one. We can download, you know, the Valley one, which this is one of my favorites actually. I have this one on my other character. Again, you right click it, you learn it, and you don't lose your old dimension. It just becomes down here in the inactive list. Now, one of the things that are very important is, in order for other people to see your dimension, you're going to have to give the public group option along with the guild and your friends list options. Be careful who you give permissions to move, place, and pick up items, because someone could potentially get into your dimension and completely destroy it, and you wouldn't want that after hours and hours of hard work. You can also go through your alt dimensions here. You can check out your friends' dimensions, guildmates, anybody that has their dimension particularly public. Right now this is on PTS, so some of the devs have them, and many people have published their dimensions for you to go in and look at if you wish to. So I'm going to start off by going into the dimension. The easiest thing to do to get into your dimension is either drag the key over to your shortcut bar, or just double click it from in the window. Before I do go in there though, notice that there's a pencil over here by the name of the dimension. This is the location where you can actually rename the dimension to whatever you want. I was joking with some of my guild members, I'm actually going to make a brothel when we actually get going. But the one test dimension that I have in here, I named like the God of Talera or something like that. And I'll show you that when we're finished this video. It took me about 3 hours of messing around just to kind of see what options the game had for it. So we're going to call this one Carolix Test. Hit the enter key. It's now renamed Carolix Test. We double click it. 4-second cast bar is going to make us go right into our dimension. Alright, so welcome to our empty dimension. As you can see, there's a lot of space to really kind of customize and play and modify. The developers did say there will be a good number of dimensions available at release. They're also discussing having dimensions drop off of bosses, like after you go in and kill Greenscale. You could potentially get a key that you could then take from Greenscale and open the dimension with. There's other things, some artifact sets that may drop dimensions for you. They've mentioned a few different things about dimensions and ways that you could get them. But I think to start off there's going to be, and don't quote me on this, I think it's like 10 available in game based on what somebody data mined, but that has not been confirmed. So in the dimension, we're just going to go over a few things. Basically, down here is your dimensional window. Clicking on the wrench in the middle puts you in what's called edit mode. The plus to the left allows you to invite people to see your dimension. The dimension item list, which is currently empty, are things that you've placed and can go in and look at. And then obviously there's the leave button. The upgrade button allows you to basically upgrade how many slots your dimension has. I'm not sure how this particular feature is going to go in live. I can't imagine they're just going to let you hit the plus button, 4 times and level it, but you never know, they could. And then obviously the +1, which anybody that's ever used Facebook in the past 5 years knows that a +1 is basically like a like, or it moves you higher in the directory of dimensions for people to view. I am, however, going to leave because I have nothing to place currently in this dimension in my bag. Alright, so it should put us right back out where we purchased our first key. I'm going to run to all the vendors and we can kind of take a peek at them. Again, Woody Cook here has a lot of really good items. The round gray boulder is one that I like to use. I use it a lot. The building rock stone I currently have used a lot. And the building block wood is one that I used a lot. There's a couple shrubs, there's a lot of different kinds of items you can get. The metal pole's another one. If you want to, buy a couple of those, you can just, play around with different things. You can scale all these items, and I'll show a little demo of that. The standing torch is a lighting effect. You can put it in your room, and it actually does reflect off the walls. Before I run down to the other vendors, I will also pop up here real quick and show you the crafting vendors, which it seems like a lot of the good blocks you're gonna have to pretty much craft in the game. So anybody that's a Minecraft fan will understand what you gotta go out and grab their materials and get somebody to put together some of the items. And there are tons and tons of items. I've looked through a good chunk of them. A bow rack, metal tiles. There's pillars, square blocks. Vessels, gray stone, green stone, rectangle blocks. So there's tons of options, and it seems like they're making crafting come into play. So if you do not have a crafting ability, you have to work with somebody who can make it for you. But many of us have been playing the game for over a year, have multiple characters with crafting abilities on all of them. So again, here's our good buddy Woody. From there, if you turn around and run down the steps and cut a quick left, I believe this is the lighting effects guy. As you can see, it kind of wigs out my camera a bit here. Let's see if I can get in there. There we go. The lighting effects guy.
Study my stuff carefully.
Has a torch like up top, a couple wall sconces. The hanging lanterns are very nice for the inside of a house. There's a bunch of different options for lighting. Then if you come out of his building and cut to the left straight ahead, there's interactive items in the building who Pharos, if I say that right, is giving you. Basically the cloud seeder will change the overhead graphical effect of the dimension, which I'll buy one of them and show you. And the music boxes will actually change the music inside your dimension to be one of the following songs from one of the other zones. And I'm gonna go with the Ember Isle one for now, just to kind of test that out and show it to you. Archie here again sells some other dimensional items, a lot of crates and furniture. There's not like a whole lot that he sells that I really care about right now, because most of the time you're going to be building stuff and not placing items down right away. So the other vendors are completely on the opposite side. Again, we started over there to the left. You run all the way around to the opposite side of the bridge, and they are up in this little hut here. And potentially just more crafting or dimensional items, beds, bookcases, chairs. Then if you go over here, there's again more items. There's a couple snowy orbs, jet boulders, pale boulders, um, more rocks basically. um, the shrine's kind of neat looking. The Citizen's Telescope, we'll grab one of them. We got a weird root here, we'll grab a couple trees. And again, we'll just play around with them in my test dimension. And then if you run across to the opposite side of the bridge again, you'll be right back where you started off at, with the initial good old buddy Mr. Woody here and the keys. Alright, so I got a good chunk of items here. I'm going to go ahead and go back into my dimension by hitting the left bracket key and double clicking my little icon there with my 4-second cast bar. And then when we get in here, I'm going to show you a couple things that I've figured out, like tips and tricks to kind of help me line items up as I was making my dimension. In the one that I made on my other character, unfortunately I ran out of slots. I really started getting into playing around with it. I didn't want to spend too much time because I know that it's all going to be gone once the game goes live, so I kind of stopped from that point forward. I am going to edit my layout real quick, just so that I can have this up a little higher, and over here possibly, so that when I open up my bag it doesn't get in the way. Alright, so we're going to start off by placing our first item down. I'm going to go ahead and grab a wood plank, drag it out and drop it, and as you can see I got a floating wood plank here that just goes wherever I want it to. Whenever you've dropped an item, if you notice the number 4 is automatically hit, it's kind of your free-for-all movement of an item. I'm just going to drop it right here on the ground, and as you see it comes up into what the number 1 skill is, which is our XYZ. Basically it gives me a few arrows and move it. Blue moves it, like, you know, right to the left, based on where I'm standing. Red will move it you know, forward and back, and then green's going to move it up and down. Each item is scalable by hitting the number 3 button. Number 3 will put a scalable icon on it, which you can basically drag and make larger or smaller. It's pretty straightforward. And then the number 2 button is the rotate button, which will give you a 3-dimensional circle, which allows you to basically, you know, swing it around, up to down. You know, the green one moves it, you know, around in circles, and then obviously you can flip it horizontal and vertical. Now, one really cool feature that Trion's done is that as you place items, the grain or the graphic in the items actually will continue to go together. It will be seamless in a way. So like if I were to drop this board here and then I were to go back to the movement option, and quick tip here is by hitting Control D you can duplicate that item. You literally can drop it on top of the other one, and then when you move it into place it will seamlessly go together, so it won't even look like there's a line there. If you look up and down you can see that it's definitely 2 different boards here, but the graphic stays pretty much exactly the same. So I'm gonna, you know, drop a couple things out of here and just kind of play around, throw them around, change the sizes of them, make them larger and smaller, you know, move them up and down, etc., etc. And basically there is no limit. Well, I rephrase that. There is a limit. It's how many slots you have. But there is actually no limit to what your imagination can bring. You can easily lose yourself for a couple hours in here building things, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of time spent, you know, getting those special crafted materials together. With that being said, before I really start going to town here, I want to give you one of the quick tips that I figured out as I was doing this. You know, again, if you hit number 4, you can drag it around just like you were. If you hit number 5, it's gonna, oh, crash. Excellent, excellent. Well, it is beta. All right, so let's go back into our dimension here. Hopefully, I don't have anything crazy going on where I was putting stuff. So I started dropping some stuff down the hill here. Yep, my orb is still there. So again, when we go into edit mode, if we click on this board for instance and want to get rid of it, we hit 5 and it goes away. one of the tips I was going to actually show you is if you want to make a straight line. So one of my annoyances when I was first testing this out, for instance, is if I were to take the building block stone. Okay, I was going to drop it out here. So I drop the building block stone out here, I would drag it up. I want to basically readjust or change the vertical height to be, you know, straight up and down, and then I want to have a line of these going across somewhere. What I found actually, which was really nice, is if I put a board up, you can kind of flush mount it to the board. Now this board doesn't have to be permanently here, but as you can see, if you drop it in, it kind of soaks into the board itself. But if you just drop it in the front, you can basically drop that, Control D, drop another one right next to it, and it helps you kind of align, you know, what you're trying to do. Makes life a lot easier than trying to actually like align these in a free floating form. So in the dimension I was making before, I used the board a lot to help me line up the items I was trying to get across, and it made my life so much easier than trying to get these signed. I mean, basically once you drop them, you can easily just adjust them across the board and they'll just line right up on top of each other. You know, it makes life so much easier than trying to manually do it every time. And as you can see, when I start to grow one over the other, the graphic just kind of stays together. You can't even tell that they weren't together. So I'm going to go through a couple other items here. For instance, the redwood tanglers. The vines, you just kind of like put them wherever you want. As you can see, it just kind of melts into the environment, so they all kind of go together. One of the cool things about the items that they have here is that you can easily melt them together as one unit. So, you know, you can, as you can see, they kind of go together, and you can really not tell that these don't belong as one unit by the time that you're done twisting the item around and readjusting it to look like it, particularly is like sinking into the sand and disappearing. They did a really good job of making things line up, and I was very, very pleased with what they were able to do. So, you know, if you move it over here, it kind of looks like it is going into the sand, then coming back up and continuing down that way. One of the other items that really kind of go well together are some of the trees. You know, if I drop a tree here, for instance, and you know, I like this tree, make it a little larger, say, like that. Well, I take another tree and I drop it here. I can actually take this tree and make it look like it's, you know, coming out of the tree. So, put it around like this, adjust it out this way, and move it over to here. So now we've extended this tree to become basically one tree within another, and give it a unique shape that it didn't have prior. So let's look at one of the other options here. Let's drop the Citizen's Telescope down. Obviously, once you drop this, oh, that's not the one. I apologize. It's not the telescope. It's the cloud seeder. Once you drop this down, the environment will completely change on you. Now it's rainy and wet and nasty out. And then if you don't want it to be rainy and wet and nasty, just get rid of it. The other item I was going to show you was the music box, and I'll shut up for a second so you can actually hear it. But as of right now, there's nothing but environmental sounds. And then once I drop this, you now have the Ember Isle music track in your dimension. You know, there's endless possibilities of things that you can do. You know, if you drop this rock here, for instance, you know, it can melt right into the environment that you have around you, so it looks like it's always been here. One of the things that I'm going to show you in the dimension that I have that I tested is I was actually able to take some rocks and layer them and adjust their sizes to make them look as if they were one rock, just like this kind of is right here. There's really just literally no end to the possibilities because of how good of a job Tryon did at making all the graphics just kind of meld together and look as if they belong there the whole time. I mean, if you look, it's seamless. It all kind of just smooths over and looks good. The final trick I'm going to show you before I jump into my other dimension to kind of show it off a bit is you can literally shift click and highlight multiple items just like you can in Word documents and anything else. So I just highlighted this entire rock and I can move the entire thing that I've put together, all the pieces, as one unit. Now I will update with some additional tips and tricks on the website once I've learned more, but this is just what I've pretty much figured out while playing around. You know, if I do learn anything else, I will definitely let you know. One of the feature requests that I am going to put into Tryon is that when you have 3 items highlighted, if you Control D them to duplicate that exact item, instead of only putting out one, like as you've noticed here, it only dropped 1 here for me. It's not the exact style of an item. So, keep in mind, you can pretty much merge items together. Remember to use a board to help straighten out and line up your tiles to make everything nice and straight without having to fidget and get things lined up properly. And Control D duplicates your items. And I'm going to jump into my other dimension real quick to kind of show you some of the things that you can do with a couple hours of time. Now within this dimension I kind of just started playing around. It was really kind of, a little house back in the back, but it started out as just a couple boards, and as I continued through, it turned out to this gigantic monster of a head. Using the rock object, which I'll show you my list, using the round gray boulders, I adjusted their size and I put them together to make them look like hands and arms and a gigantic head. I used some of the fire torches in his mouth and his eyes, but put the actual stick or the pole of the fire torch in the rock so you can't see it. It just makes it kind of look like his face is on fire and is burning. And just layered everything. I used a couple brushes for eyebrows, just to joke around and see what I can do with it. And then as I went forward, this is supposed to be a dimension in a house, so I attached a house to the back of them and literally just used boulders and wood. And again, as you can see, all the patterns line up. These are multiple boards. They all lined up and they all look nice. And I used some lanterns and lighting effects. You can see how they kind of bounce off the walls there. I put the bed in, and basically this is my beta dimension that I put together and had a lot of fun with. So this is basically just a quick overview, and like I said, I will update shortcut keys and other things that we find, and hopefully anything that the developers decide to add from suggestions as we continue on. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you next time.